I want to go back to the jiu-jitsu a little bit.
Sure.
It's all connected, right? But
yeah, of course.
But there's an engineer. His name was Holetta. He was a black belt world champion back in the '90s.
Oh,
Did you ever study him?
I didn't, but without question, I will. But I think when you see
Some of he has these
what was his style?
like he was a guard player.
Okay.
Like he had,
Technician, probably.
yeah, he had crazy, and he would break things on new moves, and he was just a monster based on just his different techniques.
Yeah.
And he would figure different ways out. I don't know what he would do.
And I think when you said that he's an engineer, I think there's a lot of engineers in jiu-jitsu who don't know they're engineers. But an engineer, I don't want to it doesn't need to be glorified anything beyond what it is. Like I said, an engineer is just this. I look at this microphone and I understand how to break it down into pieces that are digestible, and I understand how to iterate on those pieces. That is what engineering school does. It teaches you how to break something down into a digestible problem. And jiu-jitsu is a series of those problems. And if you take someone and you take the focus of like what I said, like breaking something down and digesting it, and you put it into jiu-jitsu, and then you have to add, if that's not enough, you have to have that supreme competitor. You have to have someone who has accountability. Has to be an athlete. And like you add those layers, you could have someone who's gonna be tremendous in that space. But the engineer isn't the focal point of it. Like there's like several prongs. And so some people have those other three things I said: the competitiveness, the accountability, the athleticism. And maybe they were never engineers. They didn't go to engineering school, but they have that kind of brain. When you see the best thinkers in jiu-jitsu now, you think, I watch John videos from Danaher all the time. That man, first of all, has a PhD in philosophy, right?
Yeah.
Like, so this man is a scientist.
Yeah.
He's someone who breaks down thinking, and he just happened to find jiu-jitsu. And so I think he and I could have I could have a discussion with him about anything, and we could just break it down into sub steps and debate those steps and apply logic to those problems and get to those solutions. We're just fortunate that someone who has a mind like his found jiu-jitsu and made that his focus, because I think a lot of the people who
dedicated his life to it.
Exactly.
Helping guys be their best.
And like we reap the reward. And like I think this is actually one of the things that I find amazing. The people who are the best are the ones ultimately who are not secretive about their technique. When I grew up in the jiu-jitsu game back in 2008, 2009, 2010, you'd see a lot of people who were really good. They'd never teach you their A game. They just wouldn't. They'd keep it secret.
There were different times back in those days.
Different times, right? And I even understood it then. I was like, oh, this is how you stay the best. What I think someone like John and Gordon and these guys have taught us is like, I'll tell you everything I'm going to do. I'll teach it to you. And you can pay me $159 on BJJ Fanatics. And like, I'll make my living. But that doesn't mean you're going to beat me, because I am not just this technique. I am someone who's devoted my life to this.
And you're evolving continually.
Every day.
You're already learning how you can counter that with the counter, and you're already steps ahead.
Yeah, Gordon said this. He's like, I want to be a different grappler every 6 months. So if I'm teaching you what I was doing 6 months ago, and it's going to take you 2 years to learn it to the degree that I knew it, by the time you're doing it to me, you're fighting
the way
a different
Danaher
organism.
is breaking down, the best guys in each sport, with their takedowns from body locks, and
he has a gift. He has an eye for these sports in a way that I think a lot of us don't. And like I said, that's why we're lucky. We're lucky in this art to have been given someone like him, where he can advance the so much. I mean, I think that's what you notice in like a lot of spaces, right? Like Elon, a quote from Elon about Tesla is like, he will judge the success of Tesla by how many years he advanced electric cars by. I think John has probably advanced jiu-jitsu. If you looked at the pace that it was evolving at, it was always perpetually evolving sport. Right. He probably brought us like 20 years into the future. Something like that in my head, of like, not that he's developed new techniques that didn't exist. That's not exactly what I'm trying to say, but the systems by which it's not just him, it's all those guys.
The way he breaks it down, yeah.
Yeah,
The way he breaks
like
it
the
down.
systems, it's like, no, there was this
and
game.
he's brought from different sports, like wrestling guys, judo guys, combat sports.
Exactly.
And bringing it to jiu-jitsu or whatever sport they're doing.
Exactly.
They have a GSP.
Exactly.
Utilizing that for MMA.
We always ask the question of like, oh, would the best guy of this day beat the best guy of this day, right? Like that's an ongoing question. I think we're at a point right now where it's like, I don't even think there's a question that someone like Gordon is going to go, and if you put him in ADCC rules or something and take the best guy from 2000, you made him go against Hickson. Hickson's a god amongst men, but I don't think the technique was as refined. I don't. I mean,
you know, it's, you can't even say that, right? Because there would be no, like, even Michael Jordan says about, I never played against Jerry West. I never played against, you know, Chamberlain, you know.
But we can say this.
There would be no, you know, there wouldn't be like a Michael Jordan. There wouldn't be Gordon Ryan if there weren't the guys, the Hicksons, all these guys, right?
Of course.
So yeah, like, and you can't. Geez, I don't know. For me, like, you have to honor. You have to honor the people that came before.
Yeah.
Because that's why you are where you are.
Yeah.
Because of these guys that paved.
Of course,
the road,
you measure them in their time.
Right.
And
it's like, you can't, you know, people love to do that though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think when people say that, like, again, I'm a very analytical person.
Right.
I'm not trying to diminish anyone in that. It's just the way my brain works.
It's a different time, and things move faster. Like you were saying, like back when I first started in the 90s, man, like everything was so secretive. Like you couldn't share with, and you know, it was like, you know, everything was secretive.
Secret techniques. The gym has this technique.